Welcome back to Truth Bombs and Tea. Today's topic is part two of the video series looking at fixed mindsets. So, video one was fixed mindsets. Are your thoughts ruining your life? And in that video, I went through what a fixed mindset is and the negative impacts that it has on your mental, emotional, and physical health and life. And then I looked at what a growth mindset is and the actual benefits of having and embracing a growth mindset and the great impacts it has, the positive, uplifting impacts it has on your mental, emotional, and physical health. And I gave you some real world scenarios so you could really see the difference. So, this is part two, and it is all about how to develop that growth mindset. So, now that you know from looking at part one, why you want to steer away from and fixed mindset and start to develop a growth mindset, that's what this video is all about. How do we do that? Okay. So if you haven't seen that one, you might want to pause this one and have a watch. Otherwise, you can go back. But that is part one. So totally up to you. All right. So today we're looking at, well, how do we develop a growth mindset? So I'm going to go through with you some proven tips, some research around the newest brain and mindset research, and then of course the steps to start to put this into practice so that your life becomes less stressed, you become more confident, you have more joy in your life and more connection. And who does not want that? Okay. All right. So fixed mindsets. So the research is really interesting. And as our technology gets better, our advancements in all areas, including brain science, gets better. And fixed mindset people tend to think that things are fixed. Like, I've never been good at maths, so I never will be. Um, you know, this kind of religion is the best religion, and the other religions are terrible. So we went through what fixed mindset is, so I'm not going to go through that again. However, research has shown that our brain is not fixed, and the new, not so new really, but you may or may not have heard of it, the neuroscience, so the science of looking and studying the brain, has shown that our brains are actually very malleable and flexible. And so our level of intelligence can be developed, okay, through learning, and our mindset and patterns can be developed, okay. So if you have, or someone who has quite a fixed mindset, the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, the black and whites, the rights and wrongs, that is because it's been a habit and it's kind of a well-worn path. If you think about it like walking through a field with long grass, if you keep walking the same way, it carves its way through the grass, okay? And it's the same with our thoughts, both positive and negative. So if you think more positively with a growth mindset, the brain will grow and strengthen in that way. And if you think in a more fixed and negative mindset, the brain will also grow and strengthen in that way. But studies have shown that we can change the negative into far more positive. So if you think about it like, kind of like if you want to lose weight. So when you become fatter, it's not like you eat something and then the next day you've got another 20 pounds on, okay? It's something that you developed consciously or unconsciously over time through habit. Maybe you didn't move enough, maybe you ate the wrong kinds of foods, but it built up over time until it was really stubborn fat. Ask anyone who tries to lose that fat, it goes on. It's much easier to go on than get off, okay? And it's the same with your thought patterns. You may have been raised in that sort of environment, and so it comes naturally. It's like a fish in water. The fish doesn't realize it's swimming in water, right? And we oftentimes don't realize how negative or self-defeating we are because it's a habit. But just like that stubborn fat, you're not going to go to the gym once and, wham, bam, abracadabra, it's gone. You need to work at it. And it takes a while before any visible signs are even evident. Okay. And what I will share with you today in this video, they do work. They're quite simple and straightforward, but they do require, consistent practice, right? In order to change your, fatter body to a more muscular, healthier body requires work, consistency. And so does changing an unhealthy mindset into a healthier one. Okay. But the good news is everyone can, because our brain is not fixed. We can adapt and learn, and we have that neuroplasticity in there. Okay. So let's have a look at these 5 strategies to help rewire your brain. Okay. So the first one is embrace the power of the word yet. Okay. It's a very simple word, only 3 letters, and yet it can be very, very effective. So instead of saying, I can't do this, you can say, I can't do this yet, but I am learning. Okay. So this simple language shift has enormous implications. So I'll give you an example. So say you are in a company and um, you really believe in growth mindsets. So you will be able to foster a culture of no question is silly, professional development is available, and you could employ that word throughout the company. So I don't know how to do a presentation turns into I don't know how to do a presentation yet, but I'm sure that there's some professional development or a team member that I can ask. Okay. So even just saying that, like I can never meet anybody, romantically, to I haven't met anybody that, I could really see myself with permanently yet, but I'm enjoying the process of going out and, I have a very supportive social network. It takes a lot of the pressure off and it opens up your mind to new possibilities. Okay. Even better, you can create a yet journal. So this is where you document any skills you haven't mastered, any situations that you tend to sort of put a door or a wall up on, and you can change that languaging to yet. Okay. And through that, you'll start to get these ideas about where to move next. It gives you wiggle room, it gives you problem solving, it gives you possibility and creativity. Okay. Whereas that fixed statement of there's nobody around, nobody will ever love me, right, is very different to I haven't found somebody that I really truly love yet, but I have met some really nice people and I've enjoyed the process. Okay. So that's number 1. Embrace the power of the word yet. Try it. It's amazing. Number 2, instead of looking at something as it either succeeds or fails, which is a fixed mindset, look at the process just as much as the result. Okay. So oftentimes, we say the ends justifies the means, but I think most of us can agree now that that's not correct. That if the if the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? If it's going to be so problematic or stressful or draining or whatever other adjective you want to use, in order to get the thing or to get to that place, it is not worth it. So embrace both the result and the process. So at least have them equal, so that if you don't quite get to that particular goal, the actual process of going through it has given you micro wins, has given you confidence, has allowed you to learn new things and gather information. Okay. So number 2 is framing the process as just as important as the goal, and also framing any setbacks as feedback rather than failure. Okay. So this approach on a neuroscience basis has been shown to strengthen the connections between your prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. Okay. So that enables and enhances your ability to get lessons from experience and to have creative solutions to problems. Okay. And who doesn't need more of that? When you are stressed, your brain signals a whole heap of stress hormones, which then really activates that reptilian brain, the limbic system, which really is all about fight or flight. And it takes all the energy that it could have been using for creativity, problem solving, and solution searching. And it basically hunkers down, shuts down, and puts the energy into your body, which is why you've got all the adrenaline ready to kind of run away or to fight. So let's not do that. Number 3, focusing on the small wins on the journey. Okay. So number 2 was like really focus on setbacks as feedback. Number 3 really more focuses on the process has to be at least equal to or very close to the outcome. And that way, if you don't for whatever reach the outcome, and that happens to everyone, you're not going to be devastated. You're not going to think yourself as a failure. You will be able to go, okay, well, I got this far, may not have got it on this try, but I've learned a lot now and I'm far closer to getting there than I was before. Okay. So celebrate effort, celebrate persistence, and celebrate your process just as much as the outcome. Okay. You can even create, like, to help support you in this new mindset is to create a bit of an implementation system where you document your process and you celebrate those little wins, either in a journal or maybe you've got like a diary or a schedule. And then if there's specific strategies that, accelerated you a little bit or helped you feel more joyful or help you feel more confident, write those down because they're strategies that you can use again. So number 3, focus on the process, not just the outcome. Number 4, ask better questions. So instead of saying something like, am I good at this? I don't think I'm very good at this. It's much more helpful to say, how can I get better at this? Okay, because we all kind of know, we can feel our own levels of competency generally. And rather than saying, am I good at this? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Say, how can I get better at this? Okay. So the first one is kind of a fixed approach. The second one is a growth mindset approach. So better questions, I'll give you some examples. What would happen if I tried a different way? Okay. Who else has mastered this skill that I could learn from? What's the smallest improvement, just like 1% or one step that I could make right now? Because oftentimes we forecast and the fixed mindset catastrophizes and it thinks, well, I don't know what to do, which means that I'm going to make a fool of myself, which means that, people won't ask me to do the next thing, which then means that I might end up unemployed, so it spirals, right? So rather than looking and forecasting into the future too far, a simple thing is, what next step can I take right now? Like, what's 1% improvement that I can do? So a micro step or a step. And then how does this challenge me to grow stronger and learn more? Right. So rather than saying, I tried Excel, oh God, I spent 3 hours on it and I think I did one cell, yeah, that's frustrating. But, rather than saying, oh, this is, absolute crap and I'm never going to get it done, it's how am I growing here? Like, I've been really patient. Well done, me. Normally I wouldn't take 3 hours on this, but I have. Now I know how to do a cell. And I'm going to take a break and I'll come back tomorrow and I'll be able to do all those cells. And then I might look at how to do a formula. Okay. So it's about taking those smaller steps and then also learning from any perceived setbacks. Okay. So number 4 is ask better questions. So just touching back on neuroscience, the similar thoughts fire together and then they wire together. And often you've heard that. I think the most famous person for saying that is Dr. Joe Dispenza. So it turns out that negative thoughts produce more negative thoughts, and they all cluster together, and then they kind of wire together. And that's where you get these neural pathways that are negative. But conversely, as you start to put in more growth mindset, positive, open, curious, problem solving thoughts, they start to disrupt this pattern, kind of like going to the gym. It starts to disrupt the metabolism and the circulation, so it starts to break down the fats. The growth mindset starts to break down those familiar, quite thick, well-worn pathways of negativity, and it starts to wire together some newer, more helpful pathways. Okay. And the last one, seek out challenges deliberately. Okay. As I said in my last video, comfort zones feel safe and warm, but creativity goes to die there, right? There's no growth there. If you think of growth in anywhere that you look, whether it's a business or a flower or vegetable breaking through the ground, there has to be some sort of movement. There's got to be some sort of friction. There's got to be some sort of chaos. If you think about a seed breaking apart, it's kind of like the whole thing is destroyed, but yet it's not, right? So comfort zones feel like, one of your best hoodies or your, quilt or your bed, but creativity goes there to die, right? So seek out challenges, not crazy challenges, but just something that pushes just outside the envelope, where you're still capable and you're not going to go into fight, flight, or freeze, right? So, for me, for example, I wouldn't go onto a crazy roller coaster, but I might go onto like a mid-tiered one just to try it out. I'd never throw myself at the moment out of a plane, but I might go into a helicopter. And then the next time I might do a tandem dive. I wouldn't just go from zero to jumping out of a plane on my own, right? So be strategic. You can feel when you're kind of nervous, but it's manageable. Do those things, okay? All right. So it turns out that when your similar brain waves and thought patterns wire together, they really become stronger, and it compounds over time. So let's go back to that gym analogy, where if you went to the gym for that stubborn fat that laid down over time, like almost unconsciously to us, uh, you're not going to do it in one go. But sooner or later, as you're consistent, all of a sudden, you start to see the difference yourself. Then other people start to see the difference. And then you're a lot fitter than you were. It kind of goes slow, 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 and then exponentially compounds over time. And that is exactly what happens with developing a growth mindset. Okay. Beautiful. So those 5 moves are really simple to do, but they are very powerful, and they'll really start that process for you, which will compound over time. So just to recap, the 5 really powerful strategies to start to rewire your brain for a growth mindset: embrace the power of the word yet, and start a yet journal with all of those skills that you haven't mastered yet, and any of those situations that push you out of the comfort zone or that you find challenging. Put those in your yet journal. Reframe setbacks as information gathering. That's number 2. Number 3, focus on the process over the outcome. Number 4, ask better questions to give yourself proper feedback and open yourself up to solutions. And number 5, seek out challenges deliberately, ones that are just outside the edge of your comfort zone, not ones that are going to, completely freak you out. And over time, in 6 months or 12 months' time, you won't know yourself. And a lot of those negative, fixed, kind of self-sabotaging, heavy thoughts will no longer be there, or if they are, they'll be very minimal. Okay. So I hope that that has been helpful to you. As I said, let's go to video 1 if you haven't seen it yet. And until next time, let's make the rest of our life the very best of our life.